Welcome back to a special edition of Quarantine Catch Up. I am your host, Ty Rinaldi, and as always, I am joined by my partner in crime, Chris Famulero. This week, we have no special guest, as this is somewhat of an impromptu episode that's going to be a little bit shorter, but we're calling this the hiatus special. I've been on a little bit of hiatus because of personal things that I'll get into, but we want to reassure you that we are still coming up with ideas to further the channel, make you guys entertained, and we still are thinking of guests to have onto this show. We have some people lined up, and we're really excited to get to them. But for a little more housekeeping, I want to thank you guys for getting us to 50 subscribers by my birthday. That was a really nice birthday gift that you all gave me. I want to thank Chris and, again, X, for being my co-host and being really good with putting out content, having really great chemistry, and making this channel as great as it is. And thank you again to you guys for showing support and giving the channel room to grow. But Chris, how you doing? How have you been this past month?
I'm doing okay, going along with the hiatus that you took. I actually needed to take a little bit of a break because in the mix, I love doing it. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you to Emily again and to all the other people who have mentioned about coming on. That show is so much fun to do. It gives me an opportunity to really explore a broader sense of music. It really allows me to grow my own personal library. But it is also strenuous to edit those videos, mainly only by myself. But then again, it's also a burden I put on myself because I hold my editing to such a higher level that I've been a perfectionist. So I really, just a little bit of a peek behind the curtain, I record, edit, and then export those videos all in one day. So it's like I'm already working usually 3 to 4 days a week up in New York. And then when I'm home, you would think I would just do like relaxing stuff. But those days that I record in the mix, I'm basically working for like 8 hours.
Yeah.
Just pre-production, editing, recording, finding the music, all that kind of stuff. But I love doing it. I'm looking forward to doing it more. We have some other people lined up, just like we have for this show, to come on for In the Mix. Don't worry, that's not going anywhere. But I needed a little bit of a break. Went up to Providence, Rhode Island to visit my sister for a couple days. Got a tattoo. It's all been good. Been enjoying the break for a little bit, but I'm also very excited to be back here.
I'm also very excited, and you really did deserve that break. You did an amazing job with the 3 episodes of In the Mix that have been put out so far. The one with Emily is one of our highest viewed videos that we have on the channel, so thank you to both of you. And yeah, you guys got matching tattoos while you're up there, and it's really nice that you got to spend time with your family and kind of unwind from everything that's going on right now.
Yeah, it's been a good change of scenery. It was good to see them go back up to the New England area and got to see some nice foliage on my drive. It was all pretty and colorful.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the foliage to really like hit hard down in Jersey, because there's still a lot of green out there right now with some mix of red and orange and yellow. But I want like peak foliage down here already, because it's one of my favorite things, especially during the fall. But to kind of go into my side of the hiatus and kind of why we've been on a hiatus for the past month and a few weeks, I would say. My brother had emergency surgery because he had a really bad herniated disc. I had to bring him to the hospital myself. We had to take an Uber because I don't drive. And on Friday, we found out like he's going to stay there for a while. He needed an MRI. The next day, he got surgery immediately because they were worried about what could potentially happen. And in recent weeks, we found out by going to the surgeon that the surgeon said because the herniated disc was so badly impacted, it was on the nerve root that he had, and he started feeling numbness in different areas. He said it was one of the worst herniated discs he's seen in years, and he's been doing this for 11 years. He said most patients with this bad of a herniated disc could have been paralyzed or just not have walked for a very long time. Thankfully, Andrew's been killing it with PT. He's been doing a really good job of becoming more independent, and I've been the one to really take care of him day to day. My other brother lives up north. My mom works every weekday, so I'm really the one there from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep to make sure that he has everything he needs. And that's kind of why I've been on hiatus, and I will continue to be on hiatus until he becomes a little more independent than he has been. But I do appreciate the support that he's been getting. He's really been killing it. And I just wanted to let you guys know, to be a little more transparent, to be like, this is why videos have not been put up. This is why I really do thank Chris for putting in the mix at the forefront of this channel in recent weeks. And he's been doing a really good job. So I kind of want to be more transparent about that. But during this hiatus, we've been doing some watching and listening of different TV, movies, and music. And I want to get into that because it has been a month. We haven't really done this since the first episode of just me and you getting to catch up with each other. So this will be a nice little impromptu episode. So what have you been doing during your hiatus other than seeing your sister up in Providence, Rhode Island?
So I have been doing a different number of things, still playing a lot of video games and, listening to a lot of music, discovering some new shows. So I guess I'll go I went and saw a movie in theaters. I mean, that was a while ago, but like that was back when we were still doing like regular guest stuff. So I didn't really get to talk about it. But back in September, I did actually very safely wore a mask, was socially distanced. I got to go see Tenet in theaters, which, as hopefully you guys who are watching, that Tommy and I are both huge Christopher Nolan fans. I was so excited for this movie. We had talked about it previously. I think with Frank, potentially, yes, when the next Nolan movie would come out. Got to go see Tenet. I think it is awesome. If you haven't gone and seen it, probably go see it, because I doubt that it's out of theaters. It's probably going to be in theaters for a while. Months. It's going to be in theaters for months. So if you live in an area that isn't spiking in coronavirus, go see it if you can. Go get that theater experience. I highly recommend it. I think the movie theater is really, just as much as someone who enjoys going to see plays, not myself, but people who do, going to see a movie in theaters is truly the ultimate experience. No matter how good your setup is at home, go to the theater, experience that 5.1 surround sound, experience that huge screen. If you can go to an IMAX theater, more power to you. Go see a movie like that.
Yeah, of course. IMAX is the only way to see Christopher Nolan at this point. I remember seeing Dunkirk, just being in absolute awe with everything. How was your theater experience? Because I know that a lot of people have said Tenet is really loud, and sometimes it's hard to hear the dialogue and stuff like that. And also, what was it like being in a theater during quarantine, and how many people were in there and everything of that nature?
So for the theater itself, I think I was only in there with maybe 6 other people. And this is a movie theater that probably seats like well over 150 people. So we were well enough situated and socially distanced, but I never took my mask off the entire time I was there. Excuse me, from when I got out of my car to when I sat down in my seat. And it's one of those theaters that you reserve a specific seat. It's very well done. The theater experience was fine. It felt like just going to see a movie. Just Good. I had a mask on. But Christopher Nolan films in theaters are famously known for poor sound mixing when it comes to diegetic sound mixed with dialogue. Yeah. Diegetic sound is any sound that comes on during an action through the screen. So at points it was hard, but then again, the movie, I think, relies upon that loudness to really hone in on the action that is happening, or else you wouldn't kind of get the atmospheric feel of the world that he is trying to build. Because Christopher Nolan films are famously like large endeavors. They're very much like these gargantuan scenes that need to be surrounded with loud sounds and high paced like music and scoring and stuff like that. So I think it's all done really well, but I would agree that there are times where you could struggle with hearing the actors. But I think Robert Pattinson did a phenomenal job. John David Washington did a phenomenal job. I don't know the name of the antagonist. I wish I did, the actor's name. But everybody did a really great job. It's a quality Christopher Nolan film. It's more of a spy thriller than like a sci-fi film. Sci-fi film, it's got sci-fi aspects, but it's definitely like a true spy thriller.
Love to hear that. What else have you been indulging in during this hiatus?
I have been playing so much Rocket League. It's probably bad, but I mean, Tommy, I genuinely enjoy like competitive games. I play, for reference for other viewers, I play Rainbow Six Siege, Dead by Daylight. I played Call of Duty for when it was kind of bigger. I burnt myself out on it a little bit, but I tend to enjoy more competitive games than like relaxed playing style. So Rocket League is perfect for that. It is this perfect mix of like sports and competitive, not driving, because the only driving aspect of the game is the car itself, but like everything else requires skill in how you play. So I've been playing that competitively. I'm at my highest rank that I've ever done. I've
That's
been looking
awesome.
up videos of how to be better at it, and like solely for the sense of like I'm not looking to become like a pro Rocket League player. I'm not looking to become and make money off of it. Like it's just I get that's where my enjoyment from video gaming comes, is being good at these specific games and succeeding and getting better at it. It's like a development trait that I enjoy. It's not like just playing the game makes me all hunky dory.
Yeah.
It's
No,
eventually getting
being good
better at
at
it.
it and everything of that nature. And I feel like it's something that a lot of people have found with the game Among Us that has recently exploded onto the scene, where people might be playing it with their friends on their phones or through their computer, but a lot of people are also watching it, trying to learn different strategies of how to get better and trying to really understand the game. Because if you first go into it blind, it's kind of what's going on. There's so many tasks. There's an imposter. There's crewmates and everything, and it's this in-depth game. So I understand what you're saying of like going into Rocket League and trying to understand how could I be better at this game that I really enjoy, because it's not just something that obviously you like the competitive aspect, but you do enjoy the game for its aesthetics and uh, kind of the feeling you get after a win, or just wanting to beat the other team so bad that drives you to get even better. So I'm glad to hear that you're really delving into Rocket League.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up Among Us, because I've been watching a lot of different people in different groups play it. Like I'm a big fan of Rooster Teeth and Achievement Hunter, so I've been watching different crewmates from those production companies play it. I've been watching some streamers play it, like Tio and some other um, streamers like Chilled and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
it's funny when I watch that game and they play with someone who is that like overly competitive aspect, and they're like, you I think you were faking this task because this task takes so and so amount of seconds to do, and you did it in this amount of seconds. Like that almost kind of ruins Among Us for me,
Mhm.
because the over analyzing of the game kind of eliminates the general suspicion you have of everyone in that game.
Yeah.
So Among Us isn't, because I've played Among Us with my friends a couple of times, and none of us had known it that much, so where we could act like that.
Mhm.
But I almost think Among Us thrives on the newness of the game and people being less aware of the intricacies of the game. And then yeah, it's cool to see someone like, who is it, Corpse play
Corpse is really good too.
is
Yeah.
the most well known Among Us player right now, or most
Around that. Yeah.
celebrated.
Yeah.
Like it's cool to see him do that to like a group of other streamers.
Yeah.
But then when you get like the wannabe people who are like, blah, 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 I don't think you were doing this properly, and then it throws off the whole vibe. Like it's a conversation based game.
Yeah.
It's as much as the tasks have to do with it. Like ultimately, you have to find out who is the imposter through talking, and then when you have someone who dominates a conversation or makes a bunch of weird ass claims about
Yeah.
timing and stuff like that, it's like,
Yeah.
well, now I'm not having fun anymore. Like you're just taking over.
Some of the big streamers like XQC, sometimes Ninja can be a little toxic during the game of just like yelling over people and like knowing that they're right. And they just had a tournament for the first time for the game. And someone like Courage JD, who I really enjoy watching, who's actually really good at the game, the sweatier the lobby, meaning like the more into it they are, the less fun it is, because it's everybody not doing their task because they're just trying to find out who the killer is. And it's not like they're trying to fulfill the actual duty of the game. They're really just trying to hone in on one point, like you're trying to say. But I really like Courage JD. I really like Dr. Lupo, Valkyrie, Pokimane. Uh, a lot of streamers are really been honing down on playing this game often, just like a Warzone or some of these other games that have come out. But I've really enjoyed it. What else have you been indulging in?
So another new show that I have discovered during the more latter part of quarantine was The Boys on Amazon Prime. Tommy, you and I are both big superhero fans. I think we both kind of exclaimed that after Marvel, reached its climax with Endgame, we were both a little bit burnt out from superhero, the genre itself.
Yeah.
But The Boys was the most refreshing take on superheroes I think I have ever seen.
Hmm.
Um, it is so well done. I think Amazon handled it beautifully with the second season. I think we'll kind of go into that a little bit more. But I actually had my aunt was the one who recommended, among other people, but my aunt was the one who was like, "Hey, I think you would like the show. You should watch it." So I gave it a watch, and from the first episode, I was like, "Oh my god, this
Yeah.
is awesome! This is just it's incredible."
To give a little synopsis, it's if superheroes were real in our actual world, and it's not this cookie cutter thing that you get within Marvel where they kind of have a formula and it works so well. It goes against every stereotype that you kind of have from those Marvel movies. And it is gory, it is profane, and it's amazing. The action's really good, the dialogue's really good. Right off the jump, it brings you into this world of superheroes don't really care about the people. They're just trying to feed their egos and all this other stuff. You see the main character's girlfriend die immediately, and you're like, wait, this is what we're getting into? And they keep building onto the show in a very strong way of showing the dynamic between people that get affected from these superheroes and then the superheroes themselves trying to navigate of being a really good person or superhuman, trying to help all these people and then going downhill because that's kind of the culture that superheroes have within themselves of infighting and trying to be the best and not really caring about who they actually take care of.
Yeah, and I think it provides it a really, I mean, the show itself, especially in season 2, provides an incredible social dialogue on what is going on, primarily in America, with, I don't know how detailed I want to get into it, but with like incels and with racism, as well as like superiority based on race or class. It does a really good job of commentary, social commentary, but it also does a really good job of doing commentary against other superhero movies or the superhero genre, where, you know, in movies like the Avengers or Captain America Civil War, where these big climactic things happen, and then you would assume there's a bunch of collateral damage for people, and it's just never talked about except for in Captain America Civil War, where they're like, superheroes are so bad, we're going to regulate them. And then, you know, the superheroes are like, no, we're going to fight over this to see who's right. But it's like, what about the 50 freaking people who just got crushed by a building by what you're doing? Or like that, it's The Boys is like, we're going to show that aspect. We do not care how powerful these superheroes are, how, you know, what they should be doing. We're going to show what happens when everything goes wrong, and you're going to see someone who gets, you know, lasered through the bad villain, who gets lasered through a villain, and you have to see how that superhero reacts. And it's the complete opposite of how you think a superhero would react.
They kind of delve into that stuff with Marvel and DC, like you're saying, Civil War, the Sokovia Accords, and everything of that nature. They don't really hone in on it. And same thing with DC. Batman vs Superman opens up with, you see Superman fighting Zod in Metropolis, and Bruce Wayne's on the ground floor kind of seeing the wreckage that's happening, but they don't really do anything about it. In this show, that's the entire plot of the show. Regular humans are trying to fight back against the superheroes and be like, this is also our world, and you're not really portraying yourselves in a truthful light. And it's really interesting to see how they play that dichotomy between normal people that just want to love their families and all this stuff, and then the superheroes that are honestly super villains in a weird way.
Yeah, also, I should probably look up the name of the actor, so I'm going to do that while I talk about this. But the man who plays Homelander needs to win an Emmy.
Anthony Starr is his name.
Anthony Starr? Is that what his
is
name? We'll double down on that.
As Homelander. He's actually, I believe, from New Zealand.
It is Anthony Starr.
And you wouldn't know because he plays this ultra-American, almost like a Superman type character, but he is the ultimate evil within the show until you get to the second season where he plays off of another two-faced superhero that we have within this universe. But you do have someone like an Erin Moriarty that plays Starlight, who is absolutely amazing of playing that naive.
She also has the coolest last name.
Moriarty.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. It reminds me of Sherlock. I love it. But she is this naive superhero that thinks she's going to do such good for the world until she joins the Seven, which is their Justice League or Avengers, and she quickly realizes this is not what she thought it was, and Homelander is really at the forefront of changing things up within the world, kind of controlling things under his own puppeteering. And you have Dennis Quaid's son, Jack Quaid, being the main character. His girlfriend dies in the first episode of the first season. And he's trying to figure out how to right the wrongs of losing his very close girlfriend, and trying to trek through, find other people that have gone through this, where you finally get Billy the Butcher, played by Carl Urban, who is absolutely fantastic in this role. Some of you might know him as the Guardian of the Gate from Thor. He does a really great job. He also played Dredd. He does a great job in that. The show, I would say, is one of the top shows. If I compare this to something like Umbrella Academy, which kind of came out around the same time, kind of has the same vibe where there's some humor to it. It feels somewhat realistic in its own way. I think this one is stronger personally. I believe more about this show than I do in Umbrella Academy. Some of it feels a little stretched out and a little predictable in some ways in Umbrella Academy. So I really do enjoy The Boys, especially season 2.
Yeah, I've been recommending it to everyone that I can. It's really damn good. It's a good television that was perfect for quarantine, and it's another good reason to get Amazon Prime for video. Whatever you want for the
Marvelous
delivery
Mrs.
aspect.
Maisel. They do have a really nice catalog of both shows and movies that they've been putting out.
There's also a big catalog of sports documentaries on Amazon
Mm-hmm.
Prime as well that are really well done. But the only other really like television show that I've been watching more recently is Hunter x Hunter on anime
Yes.
Hulu. It's an anime. Like I want to say I'm like halfway through it. I don't think I'm actually at the halfway point yet.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's one of the more infamous newer animes.
How do you compare it to My Hero Academia, right? Is that
Yeah, so I've watched My Hero Academia and Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer I think is quickly becoming my more favorite than My Hero Academia because I got my aunt to watch my Demon Slayer. We've been watching that together. The new movie came out in the Demon Slayer world. It's like Demon Slayer Mugen Train based on one of their mangas. And it had the biggest opening weekend for box office history in Japan.
That's awesome. That's
really
cool.
That's in a pandemic, and that's for an anime that only has one season of its show. I mean, there's a lot of manga out, but like that's crazy.
That's amazing.
So I'm excited to see that. Apparently, it's amazing. But yeah, I mean, you don't watch a lot of anime, so we don't have to continue on to that. But Hunter x Hunter is really good. I think I'm just getting to the point now where everybody is really loving it because the world is developing and powers are developing and characters are becoming, otherworldly at this point. So it's good. I'm enjoying it. I gotta find another show to watch though. I've been actually, because we're in the Halloween time in October, I was actually thinking about rewatching Stranger Things from start to finish.
I want my brother to watch it so bad because I love that show. I think all 3 seasons are fantastic. I might do it as well. Maybe we'll do a little review of that before.
Ooh, I'd be so down for that.
It just popped up on my story because season 2 came out 3 years ago, and I did my review of that, which is nuts. Time flies by, but it reminded me like I need to watch this again because I really do love Stranger Things.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I don't know what's going to happen next or when it's even going to come out next.
Yeah, they're shooting season 4 now, which is really nice because I'm very excited for it to come out again. But before we get into music, I want to talk about some of the stuff that I've watched during this quarantine. And in the beginning, well, not this quarantine, this hiatus, I should say. I watched Train to Busan with my brother. It's a Korean film. It's a zombie film, and it is a masterpiece in my opinion. I think it's a really well done zombie movie. It's not the typical tropes that you see in the zombie movies in America, where it's just very
Continue on while
Is
my
it?
camera decides to just do
It's
whatever it
okay.
wants.
Do as you must. Um, I think it's really good in developing the characters that they have. It's not just this horror movie. It is a bit of a drama with some zombie elements in it. The zombies are really new and well done. Um, it feels realistic. It feels like a pandemic that actually happens, and it feels very real. Another thing that I watched was The Social Dilemma on Netflix. I recommend everybody watch this. It
I haven't
talks
seen it
about.
yet.
I very highly recommend it. It goes into how social media has evolved and devolved into something that is really just a money making thing instead of something that is this interpersonal
Hmm.
uh, tool that people use to really connect with other people. And it's from the perspective of the people that help make the software or the hardware to make these things even better. Like some of them were marketing for Facebook, some of them made the like button, some of them um, helped Instagram become what it is and Twitter what it is and all this other stuff. And you see how harmed they are from the things that they created. Their intention wasn't to be what social media has become, which is this kind of depressing thing of spreading news for what you look into. So say you search into Google um, New York Jets and you see it here, you'll probably see New York Jets sucks. If you see something about the Jets somewhere else, it'll just be like New York Jets stats because it's not within this area. So depending where you are, certain Google searches will be different depending what you like. They, as we all know, data mine a bunch of different information. And it's a lot of stuff that I knew already, but to hear it from the people that made it and how concerned they are about it, it does put a little damper, but there's also somewhat of a fire of why can't we fix this? I believe we can with the right things. And it's made me very conscious of how much I'm using Facebook and Instagram. I actually put like time limits on myself so that I'm not overindulging in this type of stuff. Um, I watched that with my family. They were very interested by it to kind of hear how you hear about news in different ways. And that's why Fox or CNN or all these other things, even Twitter and Instagram, you're going to find what you want to see. And that's why we kind of have this misspread of information. And I do think everybody should watch this, kind of open your eyes a little bit to the reality that we're coming to and what could be the future. Um, and because we watched that, my family also watched The Social Network, which is an amazing movie. This is probably my 10th time watching it because it is that good of a movie. And I was surprised that my mom was keeping along. She's like, wow, he was really that cocky and everything. I was like, most likely Mark Zuckerberg, and how quick everything happened within that movie. And that timeline of Facebook is realistic. And it's amazing how smart some people can be and really up their wealth that quick.
Yeah, it's all of that stuff. It's kind of like, I think the reason that I've been avoiding watching The Social Dilemma is just because I'm afraid of how much it might affect how I feel about social media. And because most of the time, like for most of us and people our generation, social media is kind of our, not escape, because most of the time it just creates more trouble than it heals, but it's really where like our social communication happens. It's where commentary is brought from all walks of life. It's where people meet each other now. It's not
Yeah.
like we go out, especially in the world of pandemic. It's kept that source of communication open. But yeah, you also kind of don't want to peek behind what's behind door number two and see how much of your information they have and like how it could affect you. But
Yeah.
overall, I mean, I got Black Mirror if I want to ruin
Yeah,
my
no, I
day.
mean, it really does feel like a Black Mirror episode for sure. And then I tried that new show, Ratched, which is about Nurse Ratched from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and kind of exploring the pretense of that movie. It's made by Ryan Murphy, who's done American Horror Story. I couldn't really get into it. I don't know how they're really going to stretch out this character because within One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, she's kind of right about everything, but because she's going against Jack Nicholson's character, you see her as a villain, and she's one of the best movie villains technically in all of cinema. But I really just feel like it's not a story that I'm really interested in. I got halfway through the first episode, and I wasn't feeling it. Maybe I'll give it another shot at some point. But that was another thing I tried to watch. But let's get more into music, because I know you've kind of rediscovered some people, and we've gotten some new albums from some of your favorite people. So what have you been listening to during this hiatus?
Well, most recently, Joji blessed us. Bless up to Joji with another fantastic album. This one, I am wholeheartedly able to say it is better than Ballads 1.
Mm-hmm.
I love this album. I listened to it nonstop for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
No joke, 2 weeks. You and I, when that came out, I think we were like showing each other what songs we had already downloaded and be like, I love this song and I love this line from this song and this beat is great. I mean, if we want to quickly go into it, like favorite songs between the two of us, I think other than Run, which is easily probably between
Number
Slow
one.
Dancing in the Dark,
Yeah.
is my second favorite Joji song of all time. But right underneath Run, right underneath it is Pretty Boy. I adore that song. It's because for most of Nectar, it's generally, and Joji as a whole is a bit of a sadder song or sadder style and sadder vibe. But Pretty Boy is like a veiled actual feeling of, because it's the choice of the song, and I said this and when I featured it in the mix, the song is fun and Little Yachty's feature is fun, and it's just this exciting kind of switch up throughout the album.
Mm-hmm.
But the lyrics itself is still very sad, and it's something that I relate to in the sense of generally being a happier person and still having these feelings that you have to deal with. And it's like he uses it as like a vibe of, you know, I may portray myself as this, but you know, I'm actually sad at the end of this party, but I just had a great time. It's so much fun. It's got this fun distorted feeling. I love the music video for it. It's so good. I love the whole album. I love Pretty Boy, and I'm so thankful that Joji finally released this album because it is exactly what I needed during quarantine.
As much as I do really enjoy this album, I haven't seen any of the music videos that have come out since the release of the album, and I've heard they're really good. I mean, I trust his cinematic view of what he's putting out for the music. How do you like the music videos that he's been putting out?
So some of them make sense. Like, I think the Run music video is perfect.
So good.
Like, I think it goes perfectly with it. But then the Gimme Love music video doesn't make a lot of sense, but you can tell that he made that video in thought of like this storyline that he's depicting, you know, like the space traveler story that came out with Sanctuary. So there are other music videos that kind of go along with it. And then like the Pretty Boy music video makes no sense. It's literally, I don't know if it's Joji that's in it or if it's just a couple of actors, but they have like these, I don't want to say it to be rude, but like botched like plastic surgery guys who like, they look to be like picturesque Hollywood men from like the 60s, but they just got like these ultra wide cheekbones and like really bloated faces, and their eyes are like really like tiny, not squinted, but like their brow and their cheeks are just so pushed up that it like just succumbs to their face. And they're just vibing along, walking on the beach like shirtless and like tracksuit pants, and they've got these long gold chains, and their lips are barely moving because they're so like liposuction. They're so like full of plastic that they're just like it's so funny to me. And they're just driving along in like this old Cadillac on like the West Side High. It's so funny. It's so funny to me. I would recommend, honestly, watch them because they're not long. But go and check them out, definitely.
I definitely will. And something I saw on Twitter the other day was you and our good friend Matt Ambrose were talking about the Weeknd's album After Hours again, and it was nice to see that interaction between you two. What has brought you back into After Hours and really loving this album all over again?
Okay, so personally, I would love to say that I was just like, I'm going to go back and look at the Weeknd's discography, but I'm going to succumb to the fact that I am a 23-year-old guy and I spend a lot of time on social media. I was on the Discover page of Instagram. I saw a cool edit of a Stranger Things, compilation, and Blinding Lights was in the background. And I was like,
That's
oh
awesome.
man, I freaking love Blinding Lights. And I was like, let me go check out the deluxe version of After Hours again. And like, I listened to After Hours, and then I listened to Save Your Tears, and then I listened to The Final Lullaby, which was the bonus track on the deluxe page. And I was like, why am I doing this? Let me just hit play on the album and then listen to it. And then
Yeah.
what do I know? It's 3 days later, and I haven't stopped listening to it. So frankly, I kind of just fell into like cool edits on Instagram. But, whatever. It brought me back to the Weeknd, and I'm not mad about it.
Love to hear it. I still haven't listened to much of the album. I've
What?
heard one or two songs
Oh,
off of it. Yeah, I know, I'm slacking.
we need to end this right now so you can go listen to it.
Okay, we'll just stop recording.
Okay, bye.
But I do want to continue talking about the things that we've been talking about, and that's mostly what we've been doing during this hiatus. And I know there's a few more things that you would like to speak upon.
It's okay. I didn't actually want to end it right now.
No, I know.
But other than that, like I was kind of thinking, because of quarantine, not many artists have released full-length albums. Some have released EPs and some have released like stricter LPs and stuff like that. But I think it would be cool, potentially, if people would be interested, if you and I did like our top 5 albums of 2020, because
Okay.
2 of mine are already here with Nectar and After Hours.
Yeah.
But some other stuff, like I talked about it in the mix a couple weeks ago, the first episode, the new Dominic Fike album, I really loved. It's kind of, the more I listen to it, the less I enjoy the overall flow of the album. But I think there are some really high points on that album. Like Chicken Tenders is great. Florida is the ending track. I love it. There's a couple of interludes that are really good. They give a great vibe. There's one song in particular on that album that I just avoid with all of my being because there's a specific lyric in it and it ruins the whole song for me.
Gotcha.
I'm not going to go into it. If you have listened to Dominic Fike or that album, you might know what I'm talking about. But overall, and then I would add the new Action Bronson album is what I've been listening to. And weirdly enough, Tommy, I've been listening to a lot of hip hop and electronic and stuff, and you and I share a lot of electronic, but I just randomly, on my drive home from work a couple weeks ago, at like 1 a.m, I'm like, you know what I want to listen to? I'm going to listen to Styx. And I rediscovered how good of a song Renegade is.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks of Styx and they think of Come Sail Away.
Yeah.
But Renegade, phenomenal song, doesn't get enough recognition. And then I just went on a classic rock binge. I had already been listening to Fleetwood Mac, not because of that stupid TikTok. All Dreams is a phenomenal song. My favorite song from Fleetwood Mac is Chains, or The Chain.
Yeah.
But Emily loves Fleetwood Mac, so we listened to a lot of Fleetwood Mac when we were up in Providence. We were scootering around Brown University while we had Fleetwood Mac playing in the background. And then, weirdly enough, I just started listening to like weird metal that I wasn't really expecting. So then I started listening to like System of a Down and Rage Against the Machine. And, then I got into old metal like Metallica. It's just, I've been on a weird, this is what In the Mix does to me. I'm just like, music.
You're just following the wave of music. It's great.
I lose all sense of control.
The way you feel about Styx is kind of the way I feel about Foreigner. You don't realize how many bangers they actually have because they have their top labeled things, but then you go deeper into their discography and you're just like, wait, this is a banger. This is a banger. They're not the mainstream things that you really think of when you think of those bands. But to kind of transition into the next thing, we want you guys to understand that we've been putting a lot of thought into the mix, into Quarantine Ketchup, and a bunch of other things that we want to do with this channel. And I kind of want to get into some of the ideas that we do have that you'll eventually see in the future once this hiatus is kind of dwindling down and we're back at full capacity. One of the ideas.
Have a recorded pre-production meeting right now?
Kinda.
Oh my God.
Something that I've mentioned to Chris, I think a few times, is Sporkle quizzes. I think that would be a lot of fun, whether it's a 1v1 or me versus you guys, me versus the audience, of different TV and movie trivia, sports trivia, whatever it may be. I think it would be more movie focused because that is something that I am very
Yeah, I wouldn't win
on
that. I
top
don't
of.
want to 1v1 you because I would just be embarrassed, and then I don't think I could show my face on camera again. That would just. I'll
Hey,
do sports. I won't win that either. You know who we should have? You know what would
Chris
be fun?
Russo.
We should have. Oh, I'm going to say this after we're recording because, frankly, this is such a good idea. I'm not going to say it.
Okay. I'm interested. I will be holding on to this until we stop recording.
I'm
Um,
sorry. I'm in a mood right now. I don't know
I
why.
love it. Listen, I haven't talked to you in a long time. This is really nice to finally be interacting and being weird together again. So I'm loving it. Be as weird as you want.
I don't think you want that.
Oh, I do. Please. But yeah, I think Sporkle quizzes would be a lot of fun. I have some notes in my phone that I'm not going to pull up right now because that feels a little unprofessional. But I know the things that you've been doing within the mix have been really great between the editing and just the overall format of In the Mix. I think is a really good idea. I would like to join at some point on your list. I know we have a few other people kind of in the mix. Let's see what I did.
Oh,
What I did there. Oh my god. But
like
I
you're
think
a
it's a really
freaking
good
creative
show.
guy or something.
Oh my god. Um, that's something that I really do want to push forward into the future. And something that I'll kind of get into a little bit later. We have a lot of creative people within our lives, whether it's mutual friends or friends from home that we have. And I want to give them a little bit of a spotlight, which we'll do a little bit later. But doing that through Shooter's Gallery, that is a show that I've done once already, and I kind of want to continue in the future. Of I have a bunch of friends that do amazing things. Some people work at Google. Some people are starting their own production type companies and writing articles from themselves. You have Emily that's doing an amazing job with The Hook. I do want to give a shout out to all those people by bringing them on and kind of having them support themselves and market themselves for the world so that we could kind of share the love and do all that to make sure that they have the platform that they need to spread their own good creative works and everything of that nature. What are some ideas that you also might have that we're not holding on to for after the show?
So one thing I was really particularly interested in is potentially doing an AMA or a Q&A situation that you and I could ask for questions on, all of our social medias, being Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, as well as the One Shot Entertainment page doing like a question. And then we would come on and answer them in the video form. So that could be, I initially came up with this idea because I wanted to do it on my own personal one, like ask me anything about working in the TV industry or, working in New York or something like that. Like, since I do work in television and in downtown Manhattan, you are more film centric and you do have experience working on film sets through college as well as a professional. I think that would be a good entryway into a potential Q&A segment. And then if people want to know more about us, I know a lot of our friends are who watch this, so they already know that. But, some people who might not know me from your side, or people who might not know you from my side, if they find you interesting or they find me interesting, they could ask either of us questions or the both of us, stuff like that. Or it could be just completely random questions like, what color umbrella would you have on a Wednesday that's raining or something like that? Or, really, or what's your, one of my favorite questions to ask new people that I meet is I ask them to rank French toast, waffles, and pancakes. And that just automatically leads into conversation. I mean, I love talking about food, but
Heated debate in the PTV
it
studio
was a
at the
heated
time.
debate. I've made it a heated debate at SNY as well. Don't you worry.
Love to
Between
hear it.
talent, producers, crew, I have made it a thing. But yeah, that's something I have found interesting and really I think is a good potential. Is just a video doing Q&As, and it could be even something in the future. Like if we bring on a guest, thankfully In the Mix, I actually have somehow made connection with artists that I featured on In the Mix. I can't wait.
That's awesome.
I'm hoping to get them on In the Mix. I've had other artists reach out to me with interest if we could do stuff with them. That's the whole point of us doing all this, is making connections and making friends and bringing
Yeah.
them on to talk about it. So I would love to do a Q&A segment or an AMA for the two of us and see where that goes.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I was also thinking about in a way of doing a live stream and kind of having that fan interaction. I do want to build a greater audience so that we could have a lot more fun of interjecting with each other, both the chat and with ourselves. I think that'd be a really fun way to just be more interactive with everybody and have them be part of the show that we love making. And thankfully you guys end up watching. I also have ideas for video essays about TVs and movies and stuff like that, trying to write a script on different ideas, like how I believe Walter White and someone else was very similar. And I was very into it. Why Will Ferrell isn't as good of a comedy guy as he is when he's with his writing partner, Adam McKay, who he's done Step Brothers and Talladega Nights and all those classic movies that we've come to love with Will Ferrell. Since they've stopped working together, he's kind of been on the decline. So that's something I want to get into that I think would be a lot of fun. Are there any other ideas that you think that we should do once we get back to full capacity?
I think mainly besides like some of the smaller videos that we were talking about, I love doing the podcast. I think even if we don't continue calling it Quarantine Catch Up, once quarantine inevitably ends or we stop doing, I just want to continue doing the podcast. I think it's a good area for us to talk with each other, to talk about what's going on in our daily lives, to bring on people who we find interesting. I also want to bring back guests, people who I think might not have either gotten their fair share for when we were still a little bit smaller of a channel, or we still are a small channel, but really small, like minute. Other people who I think can really bring a lot to the table. Just because they've come on the show already or will come on the show doesn't mean that's their one and only time. I want to make this, I think that's one thing you and I have talked about a lot, is we want to make this a community effort with people that we bring on and people that we love working with. That was something that we both shared during our time at PTV. We wanted people who we enjoyed working with or wanted to, become greater friends with. We wanted to involve them in everything as much as we can. I think we still wish to do that now with One Shot Entertainment. I think you and I both care about this channel and we care about each other and making sure that we hold ourselves to a standard of, that's why we're doing this video right now, because I don't think either of us felt right with going like 3 weeks without a video.
Yeah.
We wanted to continue that effort and that inclusion from ourselves to people who are interested in this production. So that's basically all I wanted, was to say that just because you've been on doesn't mean you won't ever come back on. And we want to continue. If you are interested in being a part of this, let us know. The more people that say that they're interested in this, the more we want to do stuff. The more fired up we get of like, well, this person wants to be a part and this person wants to do this and this person loves seeing this. I think that's the one thing we're wishing for the most, is interaction from people who find it interesting. Because if nobody is telling us that we find it interesting or watch it or enjoy the content, then, Tommy and I love doing this for ourselves, but we also do it for other people who we think would enjoy it and want to be a part of it.
We would be doing this with one viewer or 100 viewers. But it is nice to have other people's passion kind of fuel us and get us into it. That's something I really loved about, especially the Val episode of Quarantine Catch Up, because he is such an infectious person when it comes to being passionate and just putting it all out there for everybody. And we've had a ton of guests like that, thankfully. And we want to continue to do that either with returning guests or with new guests. But everything you said about community kind of brings us into the next thing that I wanted to talk about, which is that spotlight. Like I said, your sister Emily doing stuff with The Hook. I have a friend, Steve Samra, who just made his own little brand called Villain Media. He just wrote a really great article about the Cardinals kind of coming up in that NFC West and being in such a tough division, but still holding their own and becoming a team that is really on the up and up. I have friends like Justin Reed, who we had that little sponsorship for a little bit, Pick from the Garden. He's doing amazing things out in LA. I want to share positivity with everybody else because we've been in quarantine for the past too long. And I think I think it's really good to bolster other people up that are doing great things. I know my neighbor, Dion Miller, along with Miles Hartsfield, who's on the Carolina Panthers, and Isaiah Copes, they've been doing Limitless Fitness by South Amboy doing a great job over there. There's Chaos Training from a kid from high school that's doing a great job. Tyler Santiago has his own store that's doing really great things with collector's items and jerseys and all this awesome stuff. These are people that I eventually want to bring onto the show, kind of learn more about them and their endeavors with what they're doing. But I also want to spread that love. What was that?
X as well with his streaming and
he's doing a great job
coaching and stuff.
Coach X on YouTube. He does a lot of Madden videos right now. He's really grinding with that while also working a full-time job. So he's really putting in the extra work that we love to see. And I join the stream every once in a while to kind of check in with him. Hopefully we'll be doing movie reviews and the such soon. Again, I know he's reached out to me. I've reached out to him, but because of the situation, things are on a slower pace right now for the channel. But I do want to spread that positivity. Is there anybody on your side that you really want to shout out for doing an amazing job with what they're doing?
I mean, of course, Emily with the hook and, school and stuff like that that's always good. A couple of other, funny enough, like couple of other podcasts have followed me on Twitter. So to shout them out, there's a Horror Struck podcast, which Emily's boyfriend, sibling, Riley, they are doing a phenomenal job with the Horror Struck podcast. I'm not a huge horror fan, but I think what they're doing is great. A couple of other of our friends have come out with Chris Russo most recently has come out with a new podcast, Sports in the Waiting Room, which the first episode, I love Chris Russo. I think he does a phenomenal job. The dude is an encyclopedia of not only sports knowledge, but film knowledge as well. Yes. I hope that we have him on Quarantine Catch Up as well, because he is just a wonderful, just being to be around and talk to. All of our friends, at Seton Hall who are continuously grinding out, and PTV people, the WSOU people,
doing an amazing job during this time, honestly.
Yeah, a lot of people we're surrounded with that inspire us to try and do a better job as well. But overall, I think right now we just wanted to, we as in Tommy and I don't think either of us felt good about going a couple weeks with no content going up. So hopefully you can enjoy this podcast. I know we said it was going to be shorter.
I think shorter. This is one of our longer episodes. This is what happens when two best friends meet up with each other for the first time in a long time. And we haven't really talked about anything. And it was really nice to talk about the stuff we love again, especially with the people that we love. Any closing thoughts before we wrap up this impromptu episode?
Yeah, I just want to thank again to all of the people who have shown interest and enjoyment of In the Mix. Thank you if that series is what got you to subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much for listening to the playlists if you have, and if you've reached out to me with any interest of being on the show. Again, I'm most likely going to continue doing that while Tommy takes his needed hiatus. So I'm going to do my best to continue and push ahead and put out that content with guests as long as solo efforts for myself, because I do love sharing my style of music as well. Thank you just for just making us feel heard in our months of doing this now. I think Tommy and I always talked about doing a podcast, and we just kind of did it on a whim this time, and it's turned out really nice to the people who have shown that enjoyment and that care for us, for our content, for wanting to be on. And honestly, Tommy and I really want to make this something special. I think we both have the capability of doing that, and we hope that you continue wanting to listen and sharing as much as possible. And just thank you as a whole. Thank you so much.
To reiterate that sentiment, thank you guys so much for, again, 50 subscribers by my birthday. That was awesome. If we could get, let's see, I think 75 by the end of the year, I'd be really happy with that. We want to keep growing this channel and making this into something that we know it can be. And again, I said it earlier, we've been coming up with ideas nonstop despite being on a hiatus. I have a bunch of notes in my phone of things I'm ready to do, things I'm excited to do. I'm happy to get back with Chris, and I'll be even more happy to get back with all the special guests that we have lined up. Thank you guys for watching. Once again, this is One Shot Entertainment. I'm your host, Tyler Rinaldi. That's Chris Famulero. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.